Hey everyone, welcome to another Blackfish interview. We've got artists today, Rita Alves and Monica Mitchell with us, and they're going to share with us a little bit about their art practice. So let's just get started with introductions. First, we've got Rita.
Hi.
And Monica.
Hey.
So I would love to hear, we've been asking everybody, how did you get connected to Blackfish and how long have you been a member? And, what has your experience been like since you've been a member? You want to go first, Rita?
Sure. I joined Blackfish in 2011. There was a period from 2013 to 2014 that I left because I moved to Colorado. But when I came back, I rejoined, and I've been a member since. I got interested in Blackfish Gallery because I moved to Portland in 2007 and was interested in going and seeing galleries, and it was one of the most interesting galleries that I saw in the Pearl District. Just really innovative shows, and I learned more about it, learned that it was a co-op, and I was really interested in that model and, just being a business iner and kind of the freedom of just being able to choose what's in your, there were so many political shows and things that you might not see in a commercial gallery. Just, the lack of censorship, I think, was something that really made me interested in it.
That's awesome. Okay, how about you, Monica?
I joined in spring of 2016. My husband and I moved from Boston in 2015 in August, and I was, new to West Coast and trying to find an art community. And I was walking through the Pearl District and I walked into Blackfish and I thought it was a really interesting gallery. But I thought that the show that I saw, I was like, wow, this is really thoughtful and just kind of weird. And I'm like, perfect. So I applied. And I forgot that I applied, and then I got in the spring, and so I'm delighted about that. So it's been 4 years now.
Awesome. We're excited to have you both. So right now, we are still under state orders to remain closed. So we've been doing this series as a way for us as a community to stay in touch with each other, but also to stay in touch with you, our viewers, and our patrons of the gallery. We miss you. So we do have a show, a physical show on in the gallery right now that's by appointment only, and it's called From the Stacks, and we're featuring works from our archives. If some of you that have been close to Blackfish for a while know that we've got a whole treasure trove of art in our back room and in storage. And so come down and visit us and you can see some awesome works back there. Also, we do have things in the main gallery too. And so Rita and Monica are going to share about the pieces that are on display at the gallery right now for the month of June. Let me go first, Rita.
Okay. So my work that's up in the gallery right now it's actually a stack of drawings on a pedestal with a cylindrical shaped mirror on top. So if you do go into the gallery and, make an appointment to do that, you can pick up the mirror and switch out the drawings. They're all different drawings, but you look at the reflection in the mirror. It's a process called anamorphosis. It's actually a historical process that was popular in Victorian England as a way of concealing images. And so, I've done a lot of work that's using that format, but I also do a lot of other things, painting, installation, etc.
Awesome. That sounds like a fun project to do on a rainy day. So come make an appointment and check that out. How about you, Monica?
I believe the work you're seeing is it the shoes? The shoes with the coming of it. That came out of a project from grad school when I was working on something I called Freya's Vortex of Expectations, and it's about the Norse goddess Freya, and she's the goddess of domesticity and passion and sex and love and anything beautiful. And so I made a whole string of shoes that were glittery, and I wanted to make them out of materials that were not precious but wanted to be. And so the shoes that are there are made of shiny materials with things growing, because she's also into nature and all that kind of thing. So that's where those shoes came from.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I am assuming that, you know, with all this time stuck inside, that you've been busy in your studios working on things. So we'd love to hear more about things that you are working on now.
Okay, well, you can kind of see what's in the background here right now. So that's a finished piece that I did somewhat recently. I started doing this very iconoclastic project. It's totally different than what's currently in the gallery. I've been cutting and sewing American flags and then painting over them. And then this one, it's hard to see it, but you know, you can't see the detail, but there's actually gunpowder on that. So, you know, this mixed media approach. And I kind of, you know, some people might think that I'm just being totally anti-patriotic, but I don't really see it that way. You know, the repurposing of the flag into a piece of artwork to me is like a positive thing. But of course it also, you know, there's also all the negative connotations of what I'm doing. And so it's this mixed feeling of what it is to be an American in this day and age. So
How are you
anyway,
feeling? How are you feeling about being American in this day and age? We've got a lot going on right now in our
well,
country.
I feel it's very challenging.
Mhm.
But you know, I am an American, and so I think that what we need to do is try to make America better. And so that's kind of a, you know, one interpretation of what I'm doing right now, trying to break down this symbol that some people see it positively, some see it negatively, you know, but, you know, just try to unite more and make this country better than it is, because it needs to be better than it is. So I laid out a few things in here right now, so I'm going to kind of try to walk around the room
Cool.
to give you some idea of the different stages in this process to make that. So let's see. Right now I've got, so that's a flag on the wall. So I basically take a flag and I'm cutting it into strips. So I was gridding it out, drawing out the lines that I'm going to cut on that one. And then after that, let's see, I don't know if you can see that.
If you turn it a little bit more, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so that's like the next stage in the process, the cut strips and sewing them onto canvas. The process of hand sewing I really like because, well, kind of, I feel like there's a feminist connotation in there, you know, this traditionally feminine process. And so, you know, I've always been interested in that element, using the different processes to kind of add more content to the piece.
You're like the modern day Betsy Ross re-sewing the flag.
Yeah. And then, so then the other things I've got here, so these are some smaller ones. And so this is the next stage in the process, if you can see that. So basically that stage that I just showed you, then I paint gesso on it, paint colors on it, and then like the one behind me, I put gunpowder on top of this stage and light it up, let it burn.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, I take these little strips, this last stage. So it's a reflective material. It's called Class 3 reflective material. It's what's on construction workers' uniforms that they have to wear on the streets to be visible. It's like safety gear, basically. So then I'm using those and sewing those between the strips of flag. And the reason I'm using that material is because, well, I wanted to do the sewing process, but then I'm also really interested in mirrors, you know, the stuff that's in the gallery right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so how could I have a mirror in a sewing project? And then, you know, on top of that, I realized that this was like the perfect material because I'm trying to use this feminine process sewing, and then this is just a very masculine material. It's on the uniforms of these people who, you know, it's a, you know, 95% probably male profession to be out on the street wearing construction gear. So yeah, so in a nutshell, that's kind of the thought processes going through what I'm doing here. And yeah, it's a little crazy.
That's what's fun about like seeing work in progress and really getting behind the scenes. So thanks for sharing that, all that. It's exciting.
I love the connections with all the different media and learning about like each one and how they're connected together. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like you're constructing a new symbol. And so I also see the parallel with the construction uniform in that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, totally.
Are you preparing for a new show? Do you envision this being a new exhibition eventually?
You know, my next exhibition at Blackfish is scheduled for November of 2021. So it's a ways out still, and who knows how scheduling's going to be, whether it's going to end up being pushed. But I think I'm preparing for that exhibition, but I never really know until the time comes whether I'm going to switch directions.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
All right, Monica, you're on.
All right. So behind me, like you'll see some drawings. I've got drawings of birds, of crows, and there's some line drawings of toy guns, of bird cage. And then I have over here on the other side, you'll see this in the gallery. My last show at Blackfish had these forms that were supposed to be organic, but they're made of plastic. And so I've got a lot of those. So I'm trying to marry my interest in artificiality with drawing. How does that connect? And one of the things I noticed about moving to Portland is how connected to nature everything is. There are a lot of crows here. I'd never experienced that before. A lot of crows. There's profuse flora everywhere, and like ferns and moss and lichen, and it's so beautiful and so interesting. And I've been taking a lot of pictures of that, drawing some of that, and then I started drawing this. Do you see the drawing? Charcoal. So I love charcoal, and I'm gonna connect it all together somehow. I don't know, like my cat's doing something. I don't know why he's doing it. But I'm preparing for a show in September, and it's loosely based on Las Meninas by Velázquez. And I'm really interested in the princess, and I'm gonna make a tableau, like a life-size tableau of all the figures in the painting. And they're gonna be, the dresses are gonna be made of umbrellas, and it's gonna be like anti-Velázquez a little bit. Like the painting is austere and beautiful and you know, just gorgeous light, and mine's gonna be like a little bit, well, totally different. The forms will be there, but the color will be different. I'm trying to take color that's artificial and a little bit harsh and turn it into something different. So I have this here I started. This is the princess.
Cool.
The main dress. This is her umbrella and the tool. So I'm trying to take camouflage materials and turn them take pattern in camouflage and in little girl things too, and mash them up together a little bit. Like I've got a lot of camo around, and I'm interested in camo like this because this is like the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Like it sticks out a lot, but the original purpose is to blend in. And so I'm interested in how people blend in, how I blend in or not, and that kind of line with class and color and that kind of thing. I'm still finding like the words to articulate it, and hopefully I'll find something coherent to say by the time September comes. But that's where I'm going, hopefully, with it now.
Awesome. No, it's fun to hear just like your rumination. I think the process behind, we often see the finished, polished work and have all these questions like, how did the artist arrive here? What inspired them? So it's really fun to see the behind the scenes of the construction and hearing about the ideas that bring it to life.
I really like the camo. I think I like it that it clashes with like the bright pink little girl dress, you know.
Yes,
I like
yeah,
the pushing opposites like, together kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to find ways, like my main background's drawing and painting. Like I can make things work together. And so I'm trying to take something that's loud and turn it into something that makes more sense with itself. I don't know how to, How do you take clashing things and turn it into something harmonious?
Like juxtaposition.
Yeah, that's kind of
like
question.
Things that,
yes,
things
exactly.
that don't, with things next to each other that harmonize, that are kind of totally opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, juxtaposition is the right word for that. Yeah. Harmoniousness. Yeah. So I'm bringing music into this. So if you get to know me, you'll know that I'm a musician, and that informs my art practice. I play violin. I studied classical violin, and then I became an artist. And I think a lot about how music's constructed, and I think about that when I make work, because when you make something for music, or when you play music, there's very definite forms. It's not random. It's not random, and the composer plays within a form, and he or she stretches it out within that form, but it's always contained within that. And so when I try to make something physically, I try to keep that in mind too. Like, what are the limits? What are the 2 or 3 things I'm going to play with, and how can I make it work together?
That's interesting. Do you know Kandinsky's work?
Yes.
So he wrote a book called Concerning the Spiritual in Art, which is probably one of my favorite books on art. Have you read it before?
I have not.
It's really good. I think you'd really enjoy it. He talks about music and how it's the most creative form of art, and how all of his works are really inspired and laid out from music. And so I think you'd find it really fascinating.
I should read that.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm not a musician. I enjoy music, obviously, but as an artist who's not a musician, even, like, it's one of my favorite books on art. It really talks. He talks about, especially in his age, where, coming out of like all this realism and painting, and moving into the more abstract, how we in music has always been so creative. Like, we don't replicate the sounds of a car or cat and say, oh wow, like, think about how perfect, it sounds so much like that. In realistic painting, it's like people are achieving, like, they were able to paint a sunset that looks exactly like a sunset, or almost photorealistic. And he was like, the music isn't like that. We don't recreate sounds. We actually just create a whole, new sound and rhythm, and how that's what he tried to do with his paintings. And so it's fascinating, a really, really good book. And just in general for artists, I think
Oh, that's so
it's
interesting.
definitely on my top for all artists. I think should read it. It's good inspiration.
I wonder what he would have thought of John Cage and Black
Right?
Mountain and all of that tradition
Right.
and Fluxus and all the performance chance things.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. I've got to read it. I love reading about process, anyone's process,
Yeah.
writers, musicians, artists.
Yeah, that's why I think this is so fun, doing these interviews and getting to know you all better and finding out more about your process. I think it's always fascinating when you get a little sneak peek into studio of an artist and see the inner workings of how things come together. So thanks so much for sharing today. It was great talking with you both.
You're welcome.
And if you guys are watching this, please go online to blackfish.com and check out the works for the From the Stack show. Check out, we've got artist pages. You can check out Rita and more and of Rita and Monica's work on their own artist pages. And come make an appointment to come see some art. We'd love to see you at the gallery. We miss you all. Take care, stay healthy. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.